What's going on this evening? I thought it'd be a good time to just talk about some real estate, talk about some things that I learned. Um just to give you context, I am in the middle of closing a house that I've been working on for a few years, and pretty much I'll just be transparent. It did not necessarily go how I thought it would go. Okay. So I'm going to give you five like tips or five mistakes that I pretty much did that you can learn from as far as real estate. Okay. So this is going to hopefully, God willing, be my first property I've ever sold. Um my couple of properties. Well, I only had two properties that I owned outright that I paid cash for. The first house, it was back in 2012. I lost that house to basically the city of Chicago bulldozed it. It was in really bad condition. It was in a bad neighborhood. And that was my first property that I ever purchased. I didn't know hardly anything about properties. I actually had a buyer. I had a dude that was from Morocco. Him and his wife, his kids, they came to look at the property. They was gonna buy the property. I didn't even know how to sell the house. That was how green I was. So this was like 2013. I was so green. I literally had a buyer. Had somebody, I think I pretty much put the house on eBay, and I had somebody who was gonna buy it from me. It wasn't that much. I only paid $1,000 for it. So I think I was the sale was like for $1,800 or something like that. But I was so green, I didn't even know how to like sell a property. So I know that sounds crazy, but I did other mistakes with that property. That is just one of that was probably the final mistake I made. But I ended up when I was trying to sell a house, I wasn't working, and then I started working and I started saving some money. I was getting ready to actually fix the house up, but then the bulldozer beat me to it. But this is my second property that I owned outright. It was this latest property I purchased back in 2020 via a land contract. So I had like a 2-year land contract that purchase price was about 10 grand, and then I had to pay taxes and fix the house up during that time and pay the house off. But uh it was some things that I learned from this transaction. I actually had another house, but that was a rent to own, so I don't count it because I technically didn't own it. So I don't even count that. That was just something that I learned from. I'll just say rent to own, you shouldn't do unless you know you're gonna absolutely buy the property. Because if you don't know that you're able to buy the property, when I mean buy the property, either get your finances, your credit straight to where you could basically get a loan on the property, or you could pay cash and pay the house off. If you don't think you could do either one of those, I you probably better off renting. Renting an apartment for a couple years, saving some money, getting your credit straight. Because basically, you're gonna put yourself in a situation where you're gonna be fixing up somebody else's house, and you're not gonna get the benefit. You're not gonna get the return from it. So that's what happened to me. But I'm gonna get right into it. This is not in any particular order. Um, it is just five mistakes that I learned, that I kind of went through with this house that I have now, which would be my second house, that you can learn from. I don't know how many people are real estate investors. I don't really know the percentage. I don't even really, to be honest. I thought about it, but like, how can you actually do a census for that or whatever? Because it's people that you wouldn't even know that are real estate investors that are real estate investors. Like my uncle, you wouldn't necessarily know he's a real estate investor. People don't walk around with a shirt talking about I buy houses, or I like fixer uppers, or whatever. People, you don't know the average person is a real estate investor unless they told you, or they advertise that, right? So I would say, roughly speaking, if I had to estimate, I would say probably less than probably 20% or 15% of individuals are actually real estate investors. It might be even smaller than that. I mean, it's just not that many real estate investors because it's just a high cost. It's a high cost. It's a very risky endeavor. And most people are just generally just they're gonna buy a house and then they're gonna live in it. They looking for something for them and their family. They're not trying to fix up nothing, rent it out or flip it. It just most people, you gotta understand, most people are not business savvy. That's one of the things that I learned from this channel. Like, people just really not into business and finance like that. Like, no matter how entertaining I might make it or try to make it or whatever, it's just something you either into or you ain't. It's just some people just not into trying to sell things and trying to invest, and it's just not into it. And I actually learned from that very notion. This property that I got now and I'm closing on, I actually had a partnership with my friend that basically went to college with. This is my point exactly. My friend, he's a good guy. I've been knowing him for over 20 years, but he's not a business person. He's not an investor. You can't make anybody an investor. You can't force anybody to be an investor or to have a business mindset. You just can't, you can't do it. If it's either someone is or they aren't. And you shouldn't go into business with people just off of just somebody being your drinking buddy or your friend or your pal. Just business does not work like that. If you know someone is a business person, or has some type of finance background, or they invested in some things, for the most part, that off rip. It's like you can't make anybody. It's especially if they don't want to be, can't force them to be a business person or an investor, nor can you force them to be a IT professional. People they just either in it or they're not. That's just how things go. But this house, I actually tried that. I tried to have a partnership with that. It didn't work out. I think things started to dissolve the first 90 days. First 90 days, it was pretty much over with. So it's like, yeah, I guess that'll be rule number 5. Okay, or not rule number 5, um it'll be number 5 as far as mistakes that I made, cuz that's definitely one of the mistakes that I made. So we'll just start with that. I do these late nights because I just find it to be more appropriate to do it because I'm awake, and um usually nobody else is talking about no business at the late nights. So I feel that void, kind of have a monopoly on it. So yeah, 5 is um we could say number 5 would be dealing with competent people, or let's just say not dealing um competent individuals, or see if I spelled this right. Let's see here. So yeah, I mean, competency is very much key, especially when you're dealing with tradesmen as well. You want to deal with competent people. Definitely that's a key thing. Then when you dealing with when you also dealing with business, you going in a deal with someone, you want to deal with competent people. And what competent means is not a bad word. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean someone's stupid because they're not competent. It just means they don't have either a particular skill set, or they don't have the required ability to do what needs to be done. Okay. And in this situation is real estate. It's dealing with a house that needs to be renovated. They just dealing with it, dealing with let's just change this to M, because we're dealing with M. Because basically what my problem was um I was dealing with incompetent people. All right. So that was the problem. So dealing with incompetent people have, is just it was a lot of burden. Okay. From the jump street, dealing with like basically the partnership with my friend, it held me back on just basically, it's kind of like knowing you on your own, right? Just imagine you on your own and you're on your own. You're gonna handle everything. You're not gonna wait on anybody. You're not trying to wait to get paid back. You're not having to call anybody extra to do anything. You just hitting the ground running, and you basically um dealing with everything by yourself, right? So for the first, I would say 6 months, I was trying to deal with my friend. Okay. I was calling him, giving him updates. I was doing a lot of work. I was not getting any help. I wasn't getting no money. I had to ultimately change the deal, and I had to go in it on my own. Okay. Now you got to understand, 6 months is a long time in real estate. 6 months is actually the average time that you should purchase a property, renovate that property, and put it on the market. It should be on the market from the time you purchase the house to, 6 months later. It should already be on the market and actually even sold within 6 months. That time was wasted basically dealing with incompetent people. Okay, basically dragging me, basically kind of sidetracking me, from the overall mission. So, that's 6 months gone. Also, contractors will be included in this. I had a couple contractors that basically took my money, ghosted me, or started some work and didn't finish it, left me high and dry. Okay. With contractors, do not, I repeat, do not give them any money until the work is done. If you do want to pay them and they need money, pay them as far as a ratio of what the work has been done. Like, if they, let's just say, for example, someone put a guard, like they were supposed to put your sink together, and or let's say they was going to do your kitchen, and for the first day they put a cabinet up, a base cabinet up, a garbage basically disposal unit. They did some electrical work. Okay, let's say they did, like, they charge you 5 grand to do your kitchen. Well, they need some money because whatever their baby mama is asking them for some money. Well, okay, you look at everything. Okay, they installed a cabinet. They installed a garbage disposal unit and an electrical outlet in the kitchen. Okay, you could be like, okay, I'll give you, you know, $200 or $250. What messes people up and a lot of rookies is that they give, like, in that scenario, they would have given the contractor or handyman $1,000. They might even gave him half down. They might have gave him $2,500. The guy charged them 5 grand for the kitchen. They give him $2,500. He do does that, just basically general installation, which is just a base cabinet in the garbage disposal unit, and maybe some plumbing under the kitchen or a base cabinet where the sink will be, and then electrical outlet. People get them, like I say, $1,000. They give them $2,500 because in their mind, they think the average person thinks that everybody is righteous and forthright and have good ethics. A lot of people give people the benefit of the doubt that they have that already. Everybody does not necessarily have that, and that's including contractors. Okay. And you don't necessarily know this person does good work, because that's also part of competency. Does this person do good work? You first start out with someone and you don't know their work, you should probably give them small projects first. I'm just saying, that's general rule of thumb. You give them small projects and you let them work, kind of prove themselves to you. But generally, that's why people mess up, and that's how I messed up. I gave too much at first, and I didn't let them do any work. Okay, at least, like I said, prorate everything if you're going to get them money. But generally, rule of thumb is they get paid when they're finished. That's how you avoid getting scammed and all of that type of stuff. And at the very least, prorate whatever you pay them by what the work is done. That way, if something happens, you got to hire someone else. You're not out of no big amount of money, and you're not out of uh you know basically you're not getting scammed. This person, something happened, a death in the family, or someone got sick, or maybe they got sick or something, they can't finish the work. Okay, that happens, life happens, you move on. They didn't necessarily do all the work, but you only gave them 250, which generally that's about what you would charge someone or pay someone that installed a base cabinet and did electrical repair and installed an outlet in a garbage disposal unit. I mean, that's around that, maybe a little bit less, but that's fair, right? It's all about fairness, right? So we're going into, we're in Leo season, but we're going into Virgo season, right? And after that is Libra season. Libra is about scales and balance, right? Well, someone, like I said, in that scenario where they got sick or something, they couldn't finish, you're okay with, okay, I could go find someone else. Life happens. I can go pick up where he left off and then finish up my kitchen. And you're not out of any money. You got some work done. It's like it's a pro for you. It's just a plus for you, not a negative, right? Because the negative would be, again, you gave a guy $1,000 or $2,500, or worse, the full amount of what they were gonna get for finishing the kitchen. You gave them all of that up front. Now basically you got a story to tell for the rest of your life about how some contractor scammed you, and you're out of all of that hard earned money that you gave up, and you didn't get anything in return. So I'm basically, this is like basically um advice that will save you a lot of heartache, pain, and money in the future. Okay. It's something that you could learn from, again, my mistakes. So yeah, that would be number five. Okay. That would definitely be number five. So I would say four is, I would say, not hiring an inspector. Okay. Not hiring an inspector. And I'm gonna tell you why this is number four, and I'm gonna tell you why this is key. All right. So it's a chick buying my house, a woman with children. She's buying my house. I don't know what her thing is. I think she's an investor. I learned something from this woman. Okay. My house is pretty much as is. I didn't finish my house. I'm not gonna, go into all of the reasons why, but basically lack of funds and unemployed periods of unemployment definitely didn't help in that regard. And also not really having help in kind of, dealing with shady contractors, shady handymen, and things of that nature didn't help as well. But I'm gonna get to that. That's gonna be definitely on this list, and I'm gonna get to that. But one of the things I learned from this woman is, in the process of closing on my house and buying it, is she didn't necessarily have to hire an inspector. She pretty much knew the house is as is, ain't no repairs getting done. Your best offer will buy the house. She hired an inspector anyway. And I saw why she did it. And it was golden. It was like a golden nugget for me. And this is why you should hire an inspector before you buy a house. Okay. And especially if you're going to buy a house that's a fixer upper, or a house that is, basically needs to be full, like needs to be does needs a lot of renovations. Okay. Abandoned property, whatever, hiring, and this is why you should hire an inspector. And when I understood, when the inspector came and I saw the report, I instantaneously knew why you should hire an inspector. A home inspector. He got on the roof. He went from the roof to the basement and then outside, and gave a full report. Now, here's the thing. I don't really know how much a real estate inspector or real estate inspection costs, but it's worth it. And I'm gonna tell you why. So when I first got this house back in 2020, I was still somewhat green. I knew more, but I was still pretty green. Okay. I know a lot more now, 5 years, in the future, than I did back when I bought this house, and mainly from this actual house. Now, I had relied on contractors, carpenters, and I relied on, like one of my friends, one of the friend that I had that was in partnership with me initially. He had a cousin that was from the area, like in Gary, Indiana, where my house is. Basically, he worked construction. He was like 80 years old or 70 years old or something like that. And he had a lot of experience. He went down in the basement, and he kind of told me what I need to do to kind of get this basement together, because the basement was like, it was like worse than a dungeon, and it was like hard. Like, I had to tame this basement. I had to clean this basement up and get it together. And he told me the basement was very, very intimidating, and it was a lot that needed to be done down there. And I ain't know what to do. And my friend definitely didn't know what to do. My friend, he ain't even green. He ain't he just he ain't even try to do anything. Like he just pretty much was pretending like he was gonna be an investor or whatever. I don't know why, but he was like he had no really initiative to really actually try to learn and try to do this thing as far as being a real estate investor. He just was kind of pretending like he was gonna do it, like a handshake and a promise. But the thing is that if I would have got an inspector, just gave me a report, everything I needed to get done, guess what? Problem solved. You know exactly from start to finish. Literally, the inspector, basically what I'm trying to tell you, he gives, or he or she gives you basically a blueprint of your renovations that you need to get done. Literally, just like that. It's like, damn, when it hit me, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Because you got to understand, this is a woman, right? Let's say she ain't got no husband. She just doing this by herself, but she got experience, right? She a seasoned real estate investor. Well, women in general don't really know that much about houses either, right? People generally don't know that much about houses. Like, they can't do no full inspection by themselves, right? Even me, I'm more versed than the average person, and definitely got a lot of experience now, but I don't know everything a home inspector would know about houses and code and everything like that. So just generally, I'll just say that report that they gonna give you is literally like, it's like literally, because the house is already built. It's not necessarily a blueprint or whatever. You might be able to find blueprints at your, like, um I don't know, like housing, maybe your city's planning development department or something. They might have old plans of your house or whatever on record. I don't know, but the thing is that inspector gives you that report of everything that's wrong with your house or any house. That literally is like a blueprint of what you need to do. Like, you could literally take the inspection and literally, to be honest, be fully honest, because it's on PDF, everything is electronic now. And this is what I would do as well, because I definitely deal with AI a lot. You can literally take that PDF inspection report, and this is like a bonus. You know what I'm saying? If you watching this, definitely like, share, subscribe, share. Also, super chat any questions that you might have. I mean, I don't know how many people are gonna be here on this live stream. It's kind of late, but what I'm gonna say is like, what I would do is take that report, go to AI, and ask AI to submit some type of renovation plan based off of that inspection report. And basically, that's what AI will do. It will take everything, all the wordage from that report, that inspection report, and literally give you a breakdown, a systematic breakdown of what everything you need to do to fix the house up. It's like basically a punch down list, like everything that you need to get done, as far as from top to bottom, to fully renovate the house. And you can also even ask AI, come to think of it, to add it, you could ask AI to give you a material cost and labor cost breakdown of these actual renovations that need to be done. There you go. Boom. I just pretty much, you know, just gave you $1 million worth of game right there. Because literally that's what could have helped me, because I didn't really know everything. I knew the obvious things, like the house was pretty much just nothing but 2x4s and just a frame. So I knew it needed, pretty much the house needed everything, but having an inspection and an actual report, that literally would have helped me in more ways than I could ever be, think about as of now. Like, it would have literally gave me kind of like a blueprint of what I need to do, how much cost is and everything like that. But I generally knew everything that needed to be done anyway, but it was a lot of stuff that I didn't even think about. But nevertheless, yeah, number four is definitely um hire an inspector, especially if you renovating a house. And especially if you get in a house and you getting a mortgage on it. Oh my God, you definitely want to hire an inspector because you don't want to get stuck with a house that basically is in bad shape. So number four is, you know, definitely hire an inspector. All right, number three. Number three. I'm gonna just say it. I know people ain't gonna follow this. I mean, I know people not gonna do it. Don't hire drug addicts. Okay, to fix your house. Don't do it. And I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna give you some stories. And then some of this stuff is like I probably had never said before. All right. The reason why you don't want I mean, the obvious reason you don't want to hire drug addicts. I'm talking like openly knowing like crackheads, like basically crackheads and alcoholics or whatever. Like you don't want to hire these people because I mean, usually the reason why people hire them is because these people are usually cheaper. Like I literally had a guy that he been smoking crack, he said himself since the late 70s. I found him because I was in a predicament. Okay. It being in the Midwest, it's real cold. And it's like I needed to get a furnace installed. I think had a furnace. Yeah, I had a furnace. I knew I needed the furnace installed and I needed the ductwork ran and you need a plenum and you need basically a supply vent. You need to hook up the radiator to the supply vent and then a return vent. Like all of these things I ain't even know before I got into this like years and years ago. But the estimates was like thousands and thousands of dollars. It was like a couple thousand. The cheapest one I think I got from some professionals was 1,700, and that was just basically installing the furnace. That wasn't the cost of the furnace. And what happened was I found this guy from just doing word of mouth through the neighborhood, and he only charged me $400 to install the furnace. And of course he needed some money the first day. He needed money, like it took him a couple days to do it. He needed money the first day. But the thing is like $400, you can't hardly beat it. It's like a lot of times people don't have a lot of money, especially if you don't have any loans. I did everything with cash. I didn't start getting any credit till probably like a year ago. And everything was cash and it was from my earnings from my job. So basically, I didn't really have a lot of cash. Okay. I mean, and I was definitely broke back then. It was back when I had my student loans and everything. I had like close to 60 grand of student loan balance. But the thing is like, yeah, like that was how I met this guy. And I actually got to another reason how I got was like it depends on how you deal with people too, because some people will try to do things that they wouldn't do with other people. Like, this guy, he does good work, but he deal with people differently. Like if you try to be his friend and everything, which is usually that's a no-no in the real estate business, trying to be friendly, Mr. Friendly with everybody. Like the thing is people get too comfortable. and then they start treating you like a second class citizen or a second class friend or a friend that they try to take advantage of. So the thing is like this guy, I was kind of still green. He gave me an offer that was like it seemed good, but it really was a bad deal in the long run. And his offer was just pay me $25 an hour and I'll do everything. He knew I needed everything done on his house. I needed a whole bunch of things done on his house. He was like, "Hey man, I just, after the furnace situation, have to install the furnace, it got everything working. But actually, I had to get another furnace because my original furnace it didn't work. The motherboard was blown, and I learned about furnaces, of course, through this situation, and I got scammed. I got scammed from some Mexican used appliance store on I think it was on Cicero or Western in Chicago. I bought a furnace for like $350 in the furnace. The motherboard was blown. Modern furnaces have almost like computers. Like they have a lot of they have basically a motherboard inside modern furnaces, and this motherboard was blown, or it's actually called a main board, but it's basically very similar to a motherboard. I actually replaced the one that was on there. I never tried the furnace, but at that time I didn't have any main board, and I needed another furnace, so I got a furnace from someone in the neighborhood for like $150, and finally hooked it up, and I had heat, because I already had duct systems and everything. So after that situation, I was happy, man. You got to understand, somebody like my first, I want to say year, it might even been 2 years. I don't remember. I was in this house. I was like pretty much kind of camping out. I had electricity, but I had no running water, no heat. So I had to hook up. I hooked up a wood stove, and I had a kerosene heater, and then I had one of them like industrial bullet heaters that it's like almost like a jet of fire coming out the front, and it looks kind of like a bullet in the front, where it's like it heats up real fast. And people use them in garages and stuff like that, and it builds up a lot of heat and builds it up fast. I had one of those, man, in my house, man. That was how I was able to stay warm. I had it for like almost a year. I want to say 2 years, but not. I know it wasn't 2 years. It was just it was a period. Like I didn't even have gas, right, in my house. They actually had to rebuild. They had to dig up the gas lines because this house was vacant for like 15 years. So the gas lines, they had to actually do some work, some utility work on the gas lines to actually get them to get hooked up. So that took forever. That took months to do. And it took me a while to actually get a furnace and everything hooked up. So once I got it, you got to understand, I was happy than a kid in a candy store. So he convinced me to do $25 an hour. I'm like, yeah, you already know everything I need. You see it. And I went for it. That was a bad mistake. A very, very bad mistake. Because one, I'm not a fucking employer. I don't even have the money. I mean, at the time, this is how goofy this is, right? This is how goofy. Like, I was making $32 an hour myself, doing what I like, my profession, or working where I was working. I was making $32 an hour. I was making more than that, but like basically paying him damn near close to what I make, and then just what he would do is milk it. He would do everything slow and then take his time. And he's making, $200 in one day. Every day he's doing something and he's putting in four doors, and making $25 an hour and just smoking crack and drinking and listening to old 70s and 60s music and 80s music or whatever. And it's like that was what, yeah, I got a lot of stuff done, but it don't work like that. It really messed me up. It messed me up because here's the thing. It might sound not bad, like, oh man, you got a house, you just pay somebody $25 an hour. It sounds good, but it's not good, and I'll tell you why. So the one is the milking thing, like taking a real slow time to do everything. That's that's a no-no, right? That's not really productive. He taking breaks and all of that shit. He's getting $25 an hour for me. You always want to do a flat rate. For the most part, the reason being, you just want the person to get in and get out. You want something done. I met him with a flat rate. He charged me $400 to put my furnace in. That should have been how, if I was gonna deal with him, that should have been how that was going from start to finish. Because it doesn't matter the hourly rate. It just, you want stuff done. You don't want nobody coming in milk. Because there's a difference between how he works or anybody would work if they getting a flat rate versus an hourly rate. That's the oldest trick in the book, milking time. So you want to always do a flat rate, and I should have done a flat rate with him, or I learned the power of a flat rate, dealing with this dude, because basically, long story short, it was a lot of stuff that could have been done. When I had, because it was times where I had a lot of money, I was working, and then it was times where I was unemployed, through the like 5 year period of the time I had this house, where I wasn't paying anybody to do anything when I was, out of work. It was a period of time I was out of work and I wasn't even getting unemployment because I was a contractor, and you didn't get any unemployment if if you were a contractor. So it was some bad years. But the thing is that the things that could have been done, the times that I had money, wasn't getting done because basically this dude working like a snail, I'm paying $25 an hour. It was a big disaster. After everything was said and done, he stopped talking to me. Um, he had some tools that I needed, and he, was supposed to give them back. He didn't give them back. I ended up I just, chalked it off as what it is. I blocked the dude, and I kept it moving. But I learned from that scenario. Like, just hire the most qualified people, and with however much money that you have, and then definitely make sure the labor, it's a flat rate. And again, don't pay them nothing in front or in full. Wait till they are done with the work, or if they ask for money, prorate what they have done as far as percentage wise, according to what the agreed upon flat rate is, right? So if you need more information, go to the start of the video. And I talked about basically the first 30 minutes. I talked about that more in detail. So yeah, number three, yeah, don't hire drug addicts. You want quality individuals to do quality work. All right, number two. Number two. Don't underestimate material and labor costs. Don't underestimate this. I had basically I basically my biggest blunder in this house was drywall. I mean, like drywall kicked my ass. I had to. I mean, I'm the only person. My uncle was 70 years old. He had way more properties than I ever had. That he purchased, and he ain't never did no full gut rehab. This was my first time doing attempting a good full gut rehab. And in case you don't know what a full gut rehab is, basically everything, it's like you almost building a house from scratch. House is basically a shell, and you got to build the house. So in a full gut rehab, generally the whole house getting drywall. Every inch of the house is gonna be covered with drywall. So I underestimated the fucking shit out of drywall and labor costs. Like basically, I thought drywall was gonna cost me initially about a couple grand. Nope. The drywall alone, if I would have, and this is the way you should do drywall, you should get a company to give you the estimate, and then of course you got to buy the drywall, and you get all the drywall. Like literally, if I would have done the professional way to do this, if you're doing a full or whatever, if you're doing any type of drywall project, especially a full gut renovation, you get a company to give you a basically an estimate, and you know basically you pay for the drywall all in front, and then they're gonna need screws and everything like that. You're gonna buy you some boxes of screws. They gonna have all of the tools and everything, and you just get everything right up front. They gonna put it in the house, or they gonna put it in the garage, and then they're gonna be coming back and forth bringing the drywall in, and you just get it done all in once. You just just deal with it. Like if I would have done it like that, it would have cost me even just my underestimations of drywall was just tremendous. Like the drywall material alone was probably about 3 grand, and that was just the drywall. That's just the material. I spent uh, thousands of dollars on drywall, mud, tape, uh, screws, tools. I mean, labor, and then of course I tried to do as much as I could. But I'm telling you, that drywall never got done. At the end of the day, that was like it was like just man, it was like I was dealing with a drywall monster, and that drywall monster defeated me. Like the way you do it is like you just get all the material, whatever they tell you it need by square. You do a square footage estimate, and you figure out how much drywall you need, and you get it all or get as much as you can get, and then they gon' the company, like I think my drywall, if I would have done it like that, they would have probably did it for like 5 grand, and that's the whole house. But see, this is why I was kind of I was green. I was still green before I got this house. I mean, not as much as I was the first house I purchased, but I was still green. Like I'm thinking the drywall gonna only be like a couple grand to just do the whole house. Like, I mean, you would have to probably, man, you probably had to hire some Mexicans that they in the country for the first week and they need some money, and then like you get a crew of people from Home Depot, you might be able to get it done like that. But if you hire, any established company, they're going to charge you, for a full gut rehab, like 5 to 10 grand. Easy. because they gonna get a crew in. They gonna do all of the drywall. They gonna bring it in. They gonna tape. They gonna screw, tape, mud in about a week's time, or even a weekend. They gonna finish the whole house, and it costs a lot of money to do drywall. Drywall is people don't think drywall expensive, but it's not just doing just one or one room. It's doing the whole house. And drywall is like very important structurally for modern houses. Like it's literally the walls of a house. So it's expensive. People don't think they think they probably don't think drywall expensive, but drywall is actually very expensive. Okay, it's very expensive. It's especially you doing an entire house. Like if you actually if you building a brand new house, man, you could probably get into where it'd be like 15 grand to do. If you got a big old house, like a big, almost a mansion or something, your drywall might be 30 grand. It might be 25,000. It depends on the square footage. They gotta get, if you got a big house with a big lofty ceilings, they gotta get what do they call those? They gotta get those I think they called sca- uh scallots, or I forgot what they called, but those where they basically get these little hoists, and it's like almost like that you see on the outside of a building, scaffolding. Yeah, they basically got to get these scaffolds to get all the way up to the high as the ceiling, and they got to lift this drywall up, and you know they got to do a lot of work, and that's a lot of labor. Like if construction guys that just do nothing but drywall, taping and mudding and patching, and might do painting too, man, that's all they do. It's people that's all they do. Like the reason why they even probably brung a lot of immigrants over here, they need people actually just to even just do drywall. All these houses across the country that's being renovated and built brand new houses there, they need drywallers. They called it's basically called what's the term of it? They not necessarily called drywallers. They're you could say gypsum, or they usually called tapers. You know what I'm saying? Actually what it's called is not interior decorators. They call, I forgot what the fancy term, not so much fancy term, but the term they call is drywall finishers, I believe. Drywall finishing or finishers. And that's all. It's people. That's all they do. That's all they do every day, and they make tons and tons of money. Even if you just work for a company, you could probably make 30 to 50,000 just being a drywall laborer, a finisher, drywall finishers. All you do is hang drywall, tape and mud, drywall all day. Um, and you could pretty much you're gonna be good. You're gonna probably have the salary of like a entry level truck driver or whatever. Like, yeah, it's tons of work. There's plenty of people in it. A lot of Hispanics in it. They're into it because it's very lucrative. Like, even if you really think about it, like if you had your own small business and you just dealt with drywall all the time, you're gonna constantly be busy, and you're going to have constant work. And each job, the average person probably gonna need, you're gonna deal with a lot of full renovations. So one renovation, it might take you a weekend with you and your homies or whatever, and you got a couple grand or 5 grand or 10 grand just in one weekend worth of laying drywall, finishing, taping, and mudding. And then they might need you to paint the walls. Painting the walls another couple grand, you know. So just that alone, man, it's people, that's all they do. They don't even do hardly anything else. All they do is lay drywall, tape, mud. It's a lot of women that do taping and mudding. And then they install drywall too. Shoot, they do the whole. It's women that do drywall. It's a woman on YouTube. She got a popular YouTube channel. She a white chick and is with curly hair. I think she over like on the I think she like near Colorado or somewhere on the west coast in the mountains in one of the Rocky Mountains. That's all she do is drywall. Her name is Drywall Shorty. That's all she do. It's quite a few women. That's all they do. They do drywall, taping and mudding. I mean, it's a lot to it, but I underestimated that like a man. I'm gonna be honest. It was a guy that he did a walkthrough because we was going me and my because he knew my friend, and it was like a friend of a friend type thing. So he walked through because the guy that I bought the house, he said it was gonna only need about 5 to 10 grand worth of repairs. That was a lie. That was a lie. The lie of all lies. Like the I remember the carpenter walked through and he was like, man, this house gonna need about 20 to maybe 30 grand worth of work. And I thought he was trying to get over on me. I ain't believe him. I thought he was literally like trying to shiesty me. Nah. Not only did it probably not only was he accurate, he was basically giving me a discount because this house from start to finish, it needed probably around, I want to say, probably about 50 grand worth of renovations. I mean, like, even all of the stuff that I did, like, I did all of the heavy lifting, most of it. This house, even to finish, this woman to finish this house, I already probably put about at least 25,000 into it as far as material, labor costs. Um, it's gonna probably need another probably 20 or maybe even 30 to finish this house up because there's still a lot of work that need to be done. I mean, so they still need AC units installed. You probably need a new furnace. I ain't gonna lie, that furnace, I know for a fact they definitely need a new furnace. You know what I'm saying? You need a new furnace, they need a new AC unit hooked up, new roof, and then fully finish everything. You got to finish the drywall, trim, paint, um, you know what I'm saying? Finish the floors, some floors that need to be finished, kitchen, bathroom need to be finished. Uh Basement need to be kind of finished up a little bit, kind of do some tuck pointing. Yeah, it's a lot of work that still need to be done. So I mean the thing is like underestimating the work. That's why I say, you get the inspector to give you like an estimate, and that's how you do it. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna give you three things about renovating houses. And that's why most people don't do this. Most people just are retail buyers. They looking for a house for their family. They gonna pay a premium with a bank, with a mortgage company, and that's it. They going they want a fully renovated house, and that's it. They trying to move them and their family in, a dog, and they moving on from there. People not renovating houses to rent out and to flip or live in it themselves. Generally, people are not doing that. That's not how people roll for the most part. Very few percentage of people do that. Now, the thing is, if you are thinking about doing that, I'm gonna tell you, it's three hard parts about, let's just say, fixer uppers that is hard. Okay. And actually buying a house is not the hard part. Okay. It's not the hard part. The I'll say from number three, from the least hardest to the hardest, how hard it is as far as renovating, or basically buying fixer uppers, or dealing with fixer uppers to get them on the market, to either rent them out or flip the property for a profit and sell it to a retail buyer. The third least hardest to do is sell the property. That's the lead. Like, if as long as you, and I got tons of videos. I got videos on this channel to make you a millionaire. My book will make you a millionaire. I got tons of content on this channel about real estate. Like, literally, if you buy right, like if you buy the house, you done the due diligence, you check the ARV, check the comps, the renovation cost is not going to go to where it's going to leave you upside, where you're not going to be able to sell the property. You buy in a good neighborhood that you're gonna, be able to sell the property easier, like a C or above neighborhood, a C grade neighborhood or above is going to generally, get you a situation where you should be able to sell a house, because it's, people want to live there. So if you do all those things and you renovate a house and put it on the market, it's gonna sell. So that's like it's the least problems, because a lot of people, what people don't do is they don't buy in the right market. They buy based off of how they like the house and it's being a good deal, and then that's not how real estate goes. That's not a smart real estate investor. A smart real estate investor buys a property. They know the market and they know the properties are selling in that market, if they're trying to sell the house or if they're trying to flip the house. It's certain markets, it's economic periods of time where it's going to be hard to sell a house. In certain neighborhoods, it's going to be like that. So if you buy right and everything like that, and you do your due diligence, you're going to selling the property is the least of concern. All right. Number two, as far as hardest to the least hardest to the hardest is, actually, believe it or not, buying the property. Buying the property is the least. I know, I mean, you got to have balls to invest and balls to buy something not knowing what's going to happen, right? But buying a property is the least hardest. It's not hard. Like, it's not necessarily easy, but it's not hard. It's definitely not hard. It's not the hardest part about fixing up a house and flipping it and all of that, or buying fixer uppers, dealing with fixer uppers. The second least, the second is definitely just buying a house. Because basically, if you're buying a house, you buying it based off of you seeing the upside of it. You're gonna probably make some money, or you see the vision of this house and you see the opportunity, and you got the money, you buy it, right? Okay, boom. Okay, your money's gone. All of the opportunity that you thought you was gonna have with it, it's gone. But it's not the hard part. The first, and in case, probably, if you got the brain power of a kindergarten, you already know where number one is. That's fixing the damn house up. You're doing what most people don't want to do. Most people, like I said, they go get a mortgage for a house that somebody else renovated, or got a hard money loan, or used their own funding, whatever the case. did the heavy lifting, the work, and everything. They're buying that house for a premium from a mortgage, getting a mortgage, paying, a very high premium for this house because they don't want to deal with all of the fixing up the property and renovations and all. People don't want to do that. Both men and women do not want to be involved with that. Definitely women don't want to be involved with that. You just don't want to deal with that. So, basically, um, the hardest part is renovating the actual fixer upper. You could probably spend, like, for example, me, I spent 10 grand on this house, and it's actually not even a house. I bought an actual block. I actually have a lot that's a pain in the butt to cut. And until I got my riding mower, then needless to say, my riding mower started acting up a week or two before closing. So I wasn't able to give the grass a final cut because I couldn't get I don't know what's going on with my riding mower. But nevertheless, like first couple years, I had to actually cut the grass with a hand mower. It was a pain because I have like basically a acre to cut. So the thing is like I said, most people ain't dealing with all of that. They want something already fixed up, ready to go, ready to move in, and they're gonna pay a premium. Now they're gonna pay. Oh man, it's gonna be long, long, long decades of pain. But they're gonna pay it because in their mind, they're getting something right now. Everybody wants everything right now. Like that's the society, that's the country we live in. That's how people act. That's the culture of Americans. They want everything right now. They don't want to wait. They don't want to have to deal with no dirt, pain, sweat, blood, guts, none of that. They want everything right now. They want their ice cream already waiting for them with a napkin. And they want to lick it. They don't want to have to prepare the ice cream and all of that, get the cones, make the cones. They want the ice cream, and that's it. That's the average person. So you're just not going, it's hard to renovate houses. Like, for example, my house was, my property was 10 grand. The repairs estimate, this is just estimate only, is like 50 grand. Okay. I mean, the house was a basic shell. It had no electricity, it had no gas, it had no water. Man, to install water, oh my God. Okay, so they had to dig up the gas lines. Okay, and this was in the winter time, so it was like they can only come in below, like if it was, it had to be like above freezing temperature for them to actually do work. So to get water, oh my fucking God, they had to bulldoze the entire alley because, like I said, this house was abandoned for fucking damn near 20 years. So they had to build an entire new water line. They had to dig up like literally, I want to say about 10 feet in the dirt. No, about definitely 10 feet in the dirt. They had to build a new fucking like water tank or something. And then, and the water company did this, right? But it's like, yeah, like I say all of that to say, um, it was a lot to deal with this house. Like, it was like, man, most people don't want to deal with all that. They don't want to deal with that. So renovating the house is the hardest part. Like, it'll cost 5 times. It might even cost 10 times the purchase price that you purchase for a house. Like for example, 10 grand versus 50 grand in repair. Okay, yeah, okay, you can put your 10 grand up, okay, but you're gonna have to put 50 up to fix it up. That's very, very difficult. Okay, very difficult. And That's why most people don't deal with real estate investing. Very, very, very costly because basically you're not getting any shortcuts. The reason why the house is abandoned, the reason why it's cheap is because nobody wants to fix it up. And you, the brave person that signs up to fix it up, that's the hardest part. And that's why most people don't buy abandoned properties or fixer uppers or anything like that. Because it is very, very costly to renovate. But last but not least, number one of the five mistakes that I made in in real estate, my latest real estate transaction. Number one, I'd have to say, is dealing with, or I'll just say renovating a heavy renovation. So it's some real estate investors that I listen to on YouTube, and it's a one guy in New York. I forgot his name, but he uses certain language: heavy, mid, or mild, or light renovation. So when you just starting out in real estate, you don't want to do full gut rehabs. Okay, obviously, right? You don't want to do full gut rehabs. Like I'm probably the only one in my family that has, probably one or two other guys that has done in my entire mom side of my family tree, definitely African side too. This brave enough and crazy enough to do a full gut rehab with not much experience and not much capital. Like you wanna you really starting out in real estate, like, and you definitely green, you want to do light renovations and no more than, like, I would say, light or mild, or not heavy. Okay, let's just say, I don't want to say mild. I want to say, okay, um mm, let's just say like moderate. Let's just say moderate, because light is like, light is not much. Or I'll just say in terms of housing grades, A is like move-in ready. It's like HGTV, or what is that? What's that show when they move the RV? I forgot what that show was called, where they renovate everything and everything's brand new, and they done built the slide in the living room with a pool. I think it was called. It's not called This Old House, or I think is This Is My House, or I forgot. But anyway, um, you get the point. The thing is that, like, that's A grade. You just move in ready. Everything's brand new. B is even still move in ready, but you might have to do some siding work. You might have to patch the roof. You might have to do a little painting, cleaning, you know, like maybe like you have to do a little like renovations. Maybe you have to upgrade the kitchen cabinets, maybe the bathroom. You might have to change the toilet or change the tile in the toilet, something like that. Maybe pull some rugs up, install some new floor. It's like light, it's like B, type stuff. C grade is like, yeah, you might have to do some drywall, you might have to do some, kind of moderate renovations. It's like C grade. So you might have to do some flooring, you might have to do, like, let's just say roughly you might have to do about anywhere between 20 to $30,000 worth of renovations just to, see. But see is actually the house is not that bad. It just might be outdated. You could actually, it's still kind of somewhat move-in ready, C grade, but you need some moderate renovations. So um D is like really bad shape, not move-in ready, or even habitable. It might be habitable. D might be habitable. F, which is what the grade of this house was, is why the F are you doing it? That's first. And then like other thing is it's just in really, really bad shape. It needs work to even just have it habitable. Like, for example, this house needed a whole bunch of things to just even make it habitable. But the thing is this: you don't want to get involved with a grade F house, really. You want to really avoid it if you can. It will cost you to avoid it. The reason being is those houses are probably the cheapest houses on the market. Those houses that are in F grade, this house was in F grade. Most houses that are in F grade are some of the cheapest real estate on the market. Nobody wants to fix it up, and that's why it's that price. Now, the C grade houses, the houses that just need moderate renovations, well, those those are a premium. You gonna spend probably who knows, like you're gonna spend more for those houses because those houses are in really good shape. It just needs, obviously people know, just needs moderate renovations. Like you're gonna spend a heavy premium for those houses. So it's like, you're not getting, you're not it's going to cost you more. The entry level cost is more for those houses that are in those conditions. So it's not, it's kind of like, if you really like, if you starting off like I did, it's kind of like you really getting in where you fit in. You wouldn't even fit in into that moderate realm, or the moderate houses in moderate condition, because you just don't, unless you can get, because I basically I got a land contract or seller financing contract. Unless you can get something like that, like it's going to cost you a lot more for a house in a C grade condition. It just is. I mean, that's because people, you got to understand, like your grandma or your aunt or your great uncle that's 60, or no, 70, or even, yeah, I'll even say 60 years old, or just family members in general. Your mom's house, maybe they house is that technically in C grade conditions. It's a lot of people houses, especially old people. They house now is in C grade condition. It's not bad. Like they were actually still living there. They just had to go to a nursing home because they had too many slip and falls, and it was, they couldn't hardly take care of themselves. They got old. Like the house is on the market. It just, the Brady Bunch looked like it filmed in the house. So you definitely got to renovate everything. You could technically live in the house because everything works. It's just everything old as shit. It's like the Brady Bunch. You could film Brady Bunch scenes, or Leave It to Beaver, because everything is old and outdated from like the 70s, the 80s, and the 60s. So technically, even that is not necessarily bad. So the house is, you know, kind of on the lowest level, move-in ready, like because everything works. It just outdated, right? So it's still clean, and it just need to be renovated. Just everything needs to be modernized, right? So in that case, yeah, that house is going to be way more. It's gonna be priced higher than a house that is in D grade condition, which is kind of heavy, going toward the heavy renovation side. So, basically I can only get those houses that were at that time F grade, because that's how my money was. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately. So a lot of time, I mean, I could say this advice is good advice, and it is. You know, um renovating a heavy renovation was definitely a learning curve. I learned a lot. But if you just starting out, if you got the money to avoid heavy renovation properties, get something that's like I say, like moderate to very low. The least that you got to do on the house, the better, because that's gonna bring your ARV higher, because you ain't got to do that many repairs. But you got to understand the market is the market, and properties are that don't require that much renovation, everybody already knows that, and they're going to price the house as such. So you're not going to get that much of a deal. As far as the entry level cost tends to be higher, because house is going to cost more, because it's in decent shape. It just needs to be, probably, like I say, an old house needs to be modernized. People know that. So they're going to price it at a higher tier than a house that's just been abandoned. You could see a house and it only got one picture or a couple pictures, and you look in the inside, everything's all wrecked up and old and mildewed and stuff. Yeah, those houses are abandoned houses. It's it's a difference between an abandoned house versus a house that somebody got old in and went to a nursing home or something, or died, and it just outdated. So yeah, this advice is like sparingly. I mean, because even back then, it was either no house, or I had to buy a house that was, kind of in a really bad shape, because I just didn't have the money. So, I mean, if you do, if you do have the money, I would say avoid it at all possible to get heavy renovation houses, because I mean, it's going to take a lot of money, and it's going to take a lot of labor to get those houses up. Again, a house that just need light renovation, or like say moderate renovation, even D is like, okay, like F is like full gut renovation. D is like, let's say it like this. F grade is like extra heavy renovation, right? It's like extra heavy. Like D is just heavy renovation. So, okay, a house that needs extra heavy renovation, it might cost you between $50,000 or $100,000 to get their property fully renovated. Well, that's F grade. Well, D grade property that's just needs heavy renovation, which is still pretty much, right? You might be only at about 50 to 30,000 for repairs, because okay, like dude that I bought my house from, old white guy from Lake County, Illinois, had a nice black Benz. um he had like 4 or 5 properties that he showed me. This was the one that I chose. He had a house that, it was a Colombian lady that was with us. She saw us renovate. She saw us looking at properties, and she joined the tour, and she actually picked this house that I'm talking about. And this house was different than mine, the one that I chose, right? Everything, the drywall was laid, the walls was okay. The house was, basically, like, I want to say about D, or C condition. It had a lot of like junk everywhere because it was people living there and they just had stuff everywhere. I think they was hoarding in this house or something. So like basically the house didn't need a full gut like rehab. It didn't need drywall throughout the house. So it still needed renovations and a lot of them, but it wasn't like a shell of a house where you got to put in new drywall, new light. The electric worked, all the fixtures was up, the drywall, the walls was up. You know, they were painted. But maybe you all you had to do was do some paint, right? Couple coats of paint, right? Like some flooring. I mean, it's gonna need flooring throughout. Okay, new kitchen, new bathroom, basement. Probably need some updating, some appliances or something. Maybe need a new furnace, new AC unit. But it was a difference, and that's a difference between pricing and renovation. So, like, even if you got a D grade property like that, where the walls is still intact, the electric wiring, you go in the house and you turn the light switch. If you go in the house and turn the light switch on, that means a lot. Because see, here's the thing: when you doing a house with like I did with full gut rehab, that don't have nothing, it was just a shell. It took me almost over a year, almost 2 years to actually get the electrical work done, to get the house fully electric, all electricity running. I had to get a gas generator, electric generator. So my trade, like my people I had working on my house, I had some good people work on my house too. It was a lot of good. Out of all them bums, it was quite a few guys that did some good work up in here. I hired quite a few guys that helped me out up in here, and they was pretty solid. But the thing is, the guy that did one of my bedrooms, I had to get a gas generator, electric generator, to so he can use his power tools and everything. Well, one of the things majorly about real estate, you want to get the electricity done first because all of your tradesmen need to use their power tools and lights and everything. So you need electricity to do everything. Electricity is like the start. It's like the foundation of what you need. So um when you got that already, that off the rip, you like hitting the ground running. You can get right to work once you already got electricity, and then you don't have to worry about that. And when I say worry, I'm talking about $3,000 to $5,000 to $10,000 to install new electricity infrastructure in a residential home. You don't as soon as you go in the house and you turn that light switch on and electricity turn, man, that's good as gold. That's good as gold. Like that means you don't have to worry about that. Your lecture, all you got to do is call ComEd to come in, or whatever electricity service, utility service, come in and turn you on permanently to where just coming straight to the grid and you getting a bill and all of that. And then they're gonna inspect everything to make sure everything is up to code and properly grounded and everything like that. So they're gonna do that for you. So yeah, like in a situation like that, when you get like a D grade property, it's a lot better than doing a good full. You're not doing no full good rehab. You're doing an extensive heavy rehab or renovation, because you're gonna still need a dumpster. You may have to um do some rooms like where you got to tear out the drywall because it might be mold. The house, you when you're dealing with an F grade and a D grade property, and even might even be a C grade, generally those properties might be abandoned for a period of time. The It's properties that might have been a C grade, but they've been abandoned to me. Like, it's been houses in Gary that have been abandoned for so long. They might have been a C grade condition property, but because they've been sitting for 10 years, 20 years, they start the property value, basically the grade of the property goes down because you got mold coming in through the roof because it rains. You got, rot coming in and all that, animals, insects, all kinds of stuff. Nature just take over the house. So it drags the condition of the property down. But if you can catch, if you can catch a house that is, it might have been sitting for a minute, but it still has, the walls are intact. You might have to do about 2 or 3 rooms. You might have to rip out the drywall, put new drywall in, put new insulation. But you don't got to rip the whole house apart. You might have to do, some electrical work. It's going to be some extensive work, but it's going to be a lot different than you got a whole shell. It's like building a computer. That's how I started. That's how I learned how to fix computers a long time ago, back when I first started getting in IT back in like 2005. I used to buy just computer shells. And then I would buy the motherboard, and I'll buy all the components, the hard drive, the CPU, and I would build custom computers. That's when I first started, right? So like when you get in a house that needs fully renovate, like a full gut rehab, that's literally what you do. You literally build in a house from a shell. And that's not something that you want to do. I'm just saying. Even getting a D grade property, that, I'll just say it in computer terms, it's like you already had a computer fully completed, but maybe you gotta change the CPU, change the hard drive, change the RAM, um, change maybe a video card, you know, upgrade the CPU fan to a, a cooler or something like that. Like, you gotta rebuild the computer, but you ain't gotta build it from ground up. Or you come, what I'm saying? The motherboard is still intact, you just gotta do some upgrades. Like that's a lot better than building an entire computer with with the motherboard and CPU and the RAM. And it's a lot less that you got to do. So like that's what I'm looking for now. I'm looking for something in the best neighborhood I can find. And it's like probably gonna be like I'm looking for like D condition or higher. You know what I'm saying? And I, because I know, like, I don't really have, I mean, if I have to, I do it, but I don't want to do no another full gut rehab. I just I just really don't want it. But if I have to, if the market calls for it, where I just can't find nothing, or if I find a good deal in a very decent city that I know is decent, I just pull the trigger because I already know what I need to do. You know what I'm saying? But I really am trying to avoid it if I can, because I'm looking for like a D or higher, because that's that I could deal with the walls and everything like that, and not have to worry about doing all that drywall. And I could just get right into other stuff, and might be able to finish the house probably within a year, and then get it on the market, make my money. Or here's another thing, right? So one of the good things about owning a property outright and then you fixing it up and fully renovating it, well, you ain't gotta necessarily sell a house. You might like the house, right? Or you wanna, kind of settle down on, for a little while, maybe some years, enjoy the house. Well, you can get a cash out refi. So basically, you can go to the bank and just basically um apply for a cash out refinance loan. And this is what I learned. I learned this about a year ago. I heard about these, but I actually inquired about it. So I got the full breakdown of what all you need and everything. I got basically the skinny on it. So you basically got to go to the bank, ask for cash out refi. They gonna apply to, paperwork. They're gonna see if you qualify. You don't need to have a big, heavy, like you don't need to have a high credit score to get a cash out refi because you already own the house. It's free and clear. You ain't got no mortgage on it, so you could just basically the house is like it's secure. It's like a secured loan because they basically got the house. But what they're gonna do is after you fill out the application, they prove you, they're gonna send an appraiser, which is like an inspector, to your property, and it's already done. Now you can ask for whatever you want. Okay, you know, I think they give you like a percentage of the actual value. I think like 60% of the house, the retail value. So, you say the house is probably could be, if it's worth like 200 grand, you could ask for, you can get 100 grand loan, or you can get like 125,000, and you cash that out, and you just put that up, or you use that money to go buy another property, in better condition or whatever, and you just keep it moving, and you're gonna have a mortgage now, but your mortgage might, 120,000. It's only gonna be like probably about $600 or $700 a month, something like that. And then you got 120,000 in the bank, and then you got money that you could use to go buy another property to flip or whatever. And then once you flip the property, you could just pay the cash out, the bank that cash out refinance loan off, and then you could use that to buy another property and keep it, use that like a credit line. Like you basically you can use your house as a credit line to purchase more properties and stuff like that. That's how people become millionaires. They do that. They basically use their house, they take the equity out their house and use that money to make more money by purchasing more real estate. That's like house hacking, I believe, or basically that's what investors been doing for decades. They use their real estate as an asset to get a loan, and then they use that money to keep it going, to keep, buy some more property, keep it, keep the momentum going. Next thing you know, you do that, after a couple years, you got a $500,000 in the bank because you done did that for, did a couple properties, did about one or two properties a year, and now you done, you got about $500,000, liquid in your high yield savings account, collecting 4% interest. You getting like, couple grand a month off just your money in your account, and then you using that to make more money. That's how people get rich in real estate. It's not as easy as it, it's more complicated than that, but that's the general synopsis of it. But man, I love this shit, man. I love, cars. I like cars, but man, ain't nothing like no real estate. Ain't nothing like having a place to call your own. Ain't nobody can call you talking about where my mortgage, where my payment. Only thing you got to deal with, and you know what? I'm gonna add another one. I'm gonna just add another one. I'm gonna be transparent. This is a transparent channel. Okay, this is a big one. And this is one of the biggest problems. This is why I had to sell my house. Okay. So all you people, all you haters, you could laugh at me. It's okay, but you know what? I made a decision, nonetheless. Hopefully, God willing, like I said, I'm gonna get, biggest check I ever got in my life. But the thing is this. This is a bonus. I'll just say this is a bonus. Just like I said, right? I almost forgot about this shit. This is one of the very reasons I put my house on the market. You can't no motherfucker mortgage, ain't no mortgage company in the 5 years I didn't have this house. Ain't no mortgage company called me talking about you late. for your mortgage payment. Uh, where's the mortgage payment? Ma'am, sir, we missed the payment. Now, the guy I had bought the house from with a land contract, I had to deal with him for about 2 years. But after I paid him off, only people could take my house is the county. You know, the county assessor's office or county treasury, whatever. They need that tax. They need those taxes. I was laid off for a minute, made some bad decisions, and I didn't pay my taxes. And in real estate, when you own property, you need to pay your taxes. Okay. That was, I mean, I almost forgot about it. You know, I almost forgot to mention this, but when you own property, you got to pay taxes. Okay. I know I heard something, heard something, I saw something on Twitter talking about Marjorie Green, I think her name is, politician, talking about she want to abolish property taxes. I understand the reason why property taxes exist. Property taxes exist so we not like living in Somalia, okay, where it's rundown roads, people, living in squalor, and you know, people just trying to fend for themselves. Like property taxes take care of the roads, the streets and sanitation, sewage system, the garbage dumps, police, fire, EMS, teachers, schools, you know, it's a part of the community to pay your taxes. So all of those could be on the tax roll, and it could be, the community has what it needs to survive, to thrive as well, right? The property, it all comes from property taxes. Police get, that's how they get paid, the salary, fire department, teachers, the mayor, councilmen, all of them, they supposed to be doing a job, and it come from that tax roll, okay? But again, if you own a house, ain't no mortgage company gonna take your house because they don't have no title. You didn't sign no paperwork. You ain't got no mortgage. They ain't give you no money. They ain't got no rights to your house. But the tax company, the county can take your house. Yes, they can. They the only ones. The tax, either the county or somebody sue you. That's the only way somebody or the government sees your property for whatever reason, because of a debt, usually because of a debt or something like that, or whatever. They found out you selling drugs in your house or something. They can take your house, but usually who takes houses is the county. Okay. County takes your house, and if you can't pay it back or whatever, you don't pay your taxes for a period of time, they're gonna take your house. And I learned that the hard way. And yes, you want to pay them damn taxes. Don't be fucking around and trying to find out. Pay your damn taxes, or they're gonna take your damn house. Even if you have a mortgage, most people have a mortgage and they pay their taxes in escrow, so it's included in their mortgage. Man, shoot. Sometimes, well, what if you can't pay your mortgage? That means you also can't pay your taxes, and your tax bill still is going to be due. And you know what? If that mortgage company, and mortgage companies usually be on it because they don't want to lose their, it happens and it has happened. They don't want to lose their property to the county, right? Because they technically can, but, and they have, and mortgage companies have lost their property to the county via tax sale, because the buyer or mortgage e or whatever, I believe, or basically the borrower did not pay their mortgage, therefore so they didn't pay their taxes, and the property was lost to the county. Okay, so it has happened. It has happened before. Okay, But it usually doesn't happen. The more what happens is usually the mortgage company forecloses on you, and then they assume responsibility of the taxes, and and the mortgage companies write off that as a loss, and they pay the taxes for the property. Okay. And they might have to pay, depending on how many houses they have on their real estate owned list, they have to pay taxes on all of those properties, and they usually do. And of course, they foreclose on the borrower and then assume ownership of that property. That's why real estate properties that are owned by banks or mortgage companies, they're called REOs, real estate owned properties, which is basically the banks own that property. That's all that's all that that's all it means is the bank owns that property. It's real estate owned by the bank, REO. So anyway, I just had to get this off my chest. I actually been meaning to do this video for a minute. I actually was gonna do it live on video, but nevertheless, I mean, everything ain't gotta be on video. I see people that they don't even go live, and they don't show their face, and they get thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of views. So it's not about that, but nevertheless, I got this out, and again, like, share, subscribe, and definitely share this to someone that that is either thinking about getting into real estate, or they just starting out in real estate, ideally, so it could help them avoid these costly mistakes.